To a new feature we just released called Workspaces. Welcome, everyone. Please take a moment to say hello in the chat and let us know where you're from. We'd be really keen to know where you're tuning in from. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm pretty good. Excited to show off this feature.
Well, as I understand it, you did a lot of work on this feature. It's quite a unique opportunity to get to learn about the feature from the person who built the feature.
Yeah, I mean, it was me and another engineer, Caleb. We worked, we hustled a lot on this, trying to get this out, and I think it's come along pretty nicely.
I'm pretty stoked to show everyone. Hey, Richard from Las Vegas. We've got, oh wow, the chat's moving real quick. Yeah, we can get that sorted out. Thomas from Virginia, Emma tuning in from New York City.
Everybody,
Sanjay's coming in from India. Welcome, everyone. Okay, let's kick things off properly. Let me just get the screen share up and running here.
Someone has 400 Mac Minis. Wow.
Damn. Save some for everybody else. There's a shortage going on. No, not really, but probably at the brink. Okay, can you see my screen, Nick?
Yep, can see it.
Nice. We're sort of, last week we switched to a new streaming software. We used to host these on Zoom. And so I'm just moving a little bit slowly to make sure that everything is up and running. And to that end, I just want to check that everyone can see my screen.
See if people can see it. Yep. Cool.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks for verifying. I can't see the chat while I'm presenting. Welcome, everyone, to this introduction on Workspaces. We're going to spend just 5 minutes giving you a quick intro, talk about the what, the why, give you a 10,000-foot view of Workspaces so you're orientated and you know what to expect. And then we're not going to waste any time at all. We're going to get into the workshop where we'll talk about the how. Mastra Workshops, very much orientated around the code, very much orientated around demos. We're going to show you a bunch of useful things you can accomplish with Workspaces, and we'll be sure to share a link to this recording and the code after the workshop so you can follow along as well. The code is also going to include a detailed markdown file with instructions for you to play around with the individual examples and expand on them if you choose. Of course, the best thing about doing this live, and my favorite reason, is that we get to interact with one another. It's not just a pre-recorded video. This is live, which means you're very welcome to ask your questions. And I really hope you do, because as I mentioned, it's a privilege to get to learn from the engineers behind the features. Nobody is closer to the context and the solution than themselves. And of course, we're very curious to hear from you as well, what you think about Workspaces, what you're trying to build. Maybe if we're lucky, that will help us improve Mastra over time. And so what are you going to learn today in the next 40 minutes or so? What Workspaces are and why you should care, and how to use each capability of Workspaces. Yes, that's right. Workspaces have 4 distinct capabilities: Sandboxes, Filesystem, Search, and Skills. We'll be getting into the details in just a moment. And if you maybe are familiar with some of these things, especially Filesystem and Sandbox, you might wonder about security, because if we're giving agents this power, we might also want to have some safety controls so they don't go off the rails or do something destructive. We're going to talk about that today as well as some of our future plans for Workspaces. We like to launch things quickly at Mastra to put them in your hands so you can start building productive things and so we can get your feedback. We have lots of ambitious plans for Workspaces that we'd like to share with you towards the end of this workshop as well. I'm your host, Alex Booker. I focus on developer experience at Mastra. That basically means making sure you and your coding agents, by the way, have a good experience with Mastra. It could be looking after docs or creating educational content like videos and posts and workshops just like this. I'm pretty stoked to be here, and I'm joined by Nick. Hey Nick, how's it going?
Hey Alex, I'm doing pretty good. So I'm a founding engineer at Mastra, and I helped work on the Workspaces feature. I'm excited to go through all the details with you.
Hell yeah. So let me give you just a very quick overview, because a lot of this will come to life in the code examples, but it is important to find our feet and orientate ourselves. Workspaces fundamentally make your agents more powerful by giving them 4 new capabilities. The first is to give your agent access to a sandbox so they can execute arbitrary shell commands. The second is to give your agent access to a file system so they can read, write, and search files. Searching is a distinct capability, as you will see. You can also give your agents access to skills. Maybe you've seen in the zeitgeist some of the rumblings about skills. We'll get into these. You can use them in your coding agents as personal tools, but you can also kind of enable and enhance your agents by giving them access to skills, as we'll touch upon in a little bit. I want to make sure you see some code, see some examples of workspaces right off the bat. This is the simplest possible example of a workspace. You simply construct the workspace class and pass to it a file system, a sandbox, and skills. And you can use all of these in conjunction with one another, but you can also pick and choose and just use one or none of them. You then pass your workspace to your agent such that it has access to the workspace. It's also possible, by the way, to give your Mastra instance a workspace so that it's shared among agents. The thing is, right, if we're giving our agent like access to a file system, if we're giving it access to run shell commands, that really does create, I think, immediately some concerns around safety. This is core to workspaces. We give you different options and we have some built-in things that help keep your agents more safe. But of course, you should always be judicious and have an element of judgment about you as well. For example, let's do a little bit of whiteboarding here. When you give your agent access to a file system and you point it at a base path, come on, arrow. Oh no, my arrow is not going. My arrow's not letting me point at the code. I'll have to just highlight it like this. When you point your file system at a base path, its access is rooted, which means that the agent couldn't then kind of trickle up the hierarchy into your root directory and start accessing system files or profiles and things like that. You can also make access optionally read-only so that they can't write files and create an impact that you don't want it to have. There's also options for like each individual tool. A way a lot of this functionality manifests is as giving your agents tools, and then you have more granular permissions. For example, you can make sure that when calling the right file tool, that the agent must first read the file before writing it. We'll show you some examples of this, but the reason that matters is because it will stop the agent from recklessly overwriting existing files. It will kind of force the agent to read it, understand it, and then apply its reasoning to determine the next best step. If it's an important file, it might hopefully reason not to overwrite it. You can also do things like enable human in the loop to require approval. And when we get into the realm of like sandboxes and running shell commands, that's where things can get a bit scary, right? But you can limit things like network access or like inter-process communication, access to system states by setting an isolation property like this. Seatbelt is specific to macOS, but there are other options for Linux and Windows as well. These are all documented over at Mastra. And so we'll get into the code, we'll get into the workshop in just a second here. I just want to give you a quick overview of like what these are and when you might use them. And so we'll start with sandboxing and sandboxes. Sandboxes basically allow your agent to execute shell commands in a controlled environment and then stream, and optionally, I suppose, stream the output in real time to the agent so that you can observe what's happening if you're maybe doing a curl command or doing some kind of long running interaction. It's basically very useful whenever you want your agent to execute scripts that it writes. For example, if you uploaded a bunch of financial data to maybe just your personal accounting to an agent, the agent doesn't really have any built-in kind of computing tools to parse and then to do maths on those cells in the table or those parts of a CSV file. What you'll often see agents do is actually generate like a little Python script and import some Python libraries to understand that data and generate a report. Workspace Sandbox allow you to enable your agent with that type of functionality. You can also use it if you're building like a coding agent and you want to run scripts to do with linting or building. Pretty much the like ceiling is unlimited here because you can also use, like say your agent wanted to like clone a Git repo and do something with it, well, you could run a git clone command. And as you can probably imagine, having a file system is helpful there as well. You could conceivably like tunnel into another server or something as well. Workspaces give your agents more power, and we try to do that in a way that gives you control and safety as well. What's going on in the chat, Nick? I hear some like furious typing. I think there must be something interesting happening over there.
No, people are just talking about asking. Well, there's one question that's like, I see there's file system capabilities. Is there a similar way to give the agent full shell access, ability to run dynamic shell commands? Which, basically, yeah, I think we're going over that currently. I'm just looking at other questions like that. And people are working with Mastra and SJS, and yeah.
Yeah, please keep the questions coming, and we'll keep a log and answer them the best we can as we go along. The files capability means that your agent can read, write, list, and manage files in the given working directory. This is very useful when you want to write outputs, like generated code in a coding agent or diagrams. For example, if you use something like Mermaid or some kind of data visualization utility, you can run that and write the output to the file system and then use it in like a subsequent request, or even give the user access to that so they can bring it into their own workflow. You can also read context from files before acting. For example, if you want to give your agent access to a large amount of data for data analysis, you can just pop that in the file system and give your agent access to that context. Another example might be if you wanted to give your agent access to a PDF, the agent could basically download it, put it on the file system, and start processing it. You can do this in memory as well, right? But when you use the disk, you can maybe save some memory, and this just gives you more flexibility, basically. We also have a search capability, which is where your agent can index content on the file system, and then very quickly, thanks to the index, search for relevant information. We give you some options here, like BM25, vector, or even a hybrid search, and you can sort of dial in and pick the best for your particular situation. I'd like to explore a bit later, Nick, maybe like when to pick which when we get into the code demos. You can use this search capability to search like a large knowledge base or a code base, and then you can add any relevant information to the context window without overloading it, right? Because you're searching and pulling in only the most relevant information. And then, yeah, skills. I mean, skills have actually been around for a while, probably since the beginning of the summer last year when Anthropic added it to Claude. But they've had a bit of a resurgence lately as Anthropic and a few other companies created the agent skills specification. Essentially, skills are a way of like standardizing agent behavior across tasks, and you can use them to teach your agent some specific knowledge or capability. We use these in our coding agents more frequently lately to like give our agents knowledge of front-end design or how to use a specific API or SDK. For example, we just created a Mastra skill that you can give to Claude Code or give to Cursor, and that skill teaches your coding agent the best way to access relevant information about Mastra, as well as best practices and things like this. But of course, skills go far beyond just how we use them in our coding agents. There are many to do with like copywriting or even things like brand guidelines. And because of Workspaces and the skills feature, you can now give your agent instructions that teach it how to perform specific tasks. You can use this by kind of predetermining what skills you want the agent to have. But what's really powerful, and I'm really stoked to show you with Nick's help, is how you can enable your agent to dynamically discover and apply skills so it can kind of improve over time based on user inputs and things like that. And so, yes, now we have like an overview of Workspaces and what they're all about. Just wanted to get the whistle-stop tour out of the way. Maybe, Nick, you can show us some code. Maybe I would love it if we kind of ran through the same 4 capabilities, show how they each work, and then maybe how they work together as well. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep a close eye on the chat in case anybody has any questions. We have time at the end, but if the question is like pertinent to what we're talking about, I'd love to answer it on the spot with Nick's help. So yeah, Nick, take us away.
Yeah, sure. Though it looks like people are saying my audio is still low. Is that something we can fix on your end?
I'll have a quick look. Your microphone gain is like at the max in the software. So Nick, maybe just shout, you know, like I can hear you quite well.
I'll be right next to my mic. Let's see if that makes it better.
That sounds better. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Then I'll just start sharing my screen. We can go over this. Let me do that right now. Share my screen.
It might be that I'm just very loud. I'm going to drop myself a little bit.
This one, Windows. Oh wait, it's the entire screen. Share that. Whoa, okay. So I shall go over the code first. So right now, and I'll have my.
I'm just gonna, sorry to interrupt you, Nick. I'm just gonna triple check that everybody can see the code. It does look very small, mind you. So what I would suggest is like Command Shift F to go into full screen, and then just zoom in, or press the green circle in the top left, and then just go in a couple of notches.
Yeah, oops, let me close this out too. Okay, does that look better?
I can see it very well. Let us know in the chat, folks. Anna says, yes, I agree.
Cool. Now I go to my tab.
Eric says zoom more. Wilson says zoom more. I feel like it's, I never know the right amount of zoom, but I think this looks pretty good, Nick. We can kick things off.
Okay, well now I lost my other tab. Let me just open that up. So I just want to go over like a little basics of what it works. I mean, we've already seen some of the code. I'll go over a little more of the code, just show like different parts of it, but we'll mostly be in the studio for this. So basically we have a very basic file system workspace that only has the file system on there. And this is connected to a file manager. So right now, when you make a workspace, you can either attach it to an agent like this. You can also attach it to the Mastra instance itself. So if I wanted to add a workspace right here, I could just do like workspace and then add like file system workspace or whatever. And that will act as a global workspace instance. So if you set it on the instance, then all agents will have access to that workspace. But I guess for our purposes, we'll just go with agent-specific workspaces just for this workshop. Just wanted to show that first. So now let's go to the code. Let's go here and then just run that. So I'll go over the first agent we have, which is a file manager agent. Basically, this one's it only has access to the file system, so I can read files, list files, write files, and edit files. So I'll try doing something like that. So like list the files in our workspace. Also move that over here. Cool. Wrong one.
Zoom in 2 notches on Chrome, please, Nick. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, okay. So we have a list files tool. It'll look at the local file system and it'll print out all our information. So right now in our workspace, which I have configured to the workshop content, we have a bunch of docs. We have a file system doc, an overview doc. Over here. We have an overview doc, some Sandbox documentation, and then we have some skills in here. So you can look at the skills right now. We have references and other kind of stuff. We'll go more into that in a bit. But right now, I gave it access to the whole our whole workspace directory, so it can see all of this, and it's able to list everything out. And now I can say like read the overview document. So it'll try finding it. Right now memory is not enabled, so it's going to need to list files again. But now it can read the document that we're looking for. So we have an overview document, and this goes over just Mastra Workspace and looks at the file we have right now and go over some usage examples, goes over some different global versus agent scoped workspaces, and then some other things that we'll go over in a bit, like tool scoping. Now, if I want to write to a file, we write hello world to hello.txt. So right now it's going to write the file. I can look at it. It did the writing file action. I could probably see it in my, right here. Perfect. So
in the workshop content directory. Yeah. So that's like the working directory for this workspace.
Exactly. And then I can edit the hello, oops.
The Jello world.
file to say goodbye. So yeah, they're pretty nice. It's gonna read it. Now it's a goodbye.
Oh, nice. Is that because you enabled read before write, or is the agent done the right thing there on its own?
that one does the right thing on its own.
Cool.
Where we have those checks to make sure it does it beforehand as well. So yeah, so we can see that it read what was inside the file, and then we edited it,
Okay.
and then we can see in here, it says goodbye now. So that's a basic. If you only want file system, you have a lot of these file. Okay, we'll also do this too. Delete hello.txt. So you get some pretty good workspace tools just by using file system by itself. But there's some other. We've explored the other like Sandbox and skills. They really makes this powerful. But before I go on to the next agent, I can show off this workspace screen. So we have a way to see all the files in like a nice tree view for the workspace. So you can go to file system only, and we can look at docs, and you can read docs from here. So you can read everything from here, and then you can like look at like skills from here.
Oh, I see. So when you showed us hello.txt in VS Code, you could have showed us here as well.
I could have showed that to you.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'll do
Next
that right
time.
now before we move on. I did not think about that.
No, me neither.
That's what this.
We'll get it smoother at some point.
Yeah. Let's write that real quick again. And now we can see it over here. So I'll probably do that
Very
from now
smooth.
on. All right.
So there's a couple of questions trickling in.
Okay.
So Julius asks
Ooh.
if any remote workspaces are supported. In my snippet that I showed like a local file system and a local sandbox. And it's clear here as well that you're interacting with the local system. What if you wanted to use something remote?
Yeah, so we're currently working on the ability to provide like external providers for workspaces. So if you want to use like AgentFS or S3 for your file system, or you want to use E2B for your sandbox, we currently are working on providing that, like providing support for that. And I think at the end of the demo, we'll probably show that off. We can show off a little bit. It's a little bit of a work in progress, but yeah, we can show that in action.
Nice. I think that answers Zach's question as well about supporting third-party providers. And then Mike asks if they can dynamically attach a workspace to an agent so that they can make it work with the current user's workspace. That's quite an interesting question. You're asking about sort of, this is kind of scoped, I think, to a server or a single tenant. And Mike is asking about how it could work per user for a current user.
Yeah, we can currently allow you to dynamically, you can dynamically set a workspace. I could try to show off like a little bit of the code for that. Let me see here, the workspace. So if I have a diagram agent, so I can do this. So I have a request. If I put in request context Mastra, I can do. So I'm gonna make some changes here. Hold on, give me 1 second. So there's some changes that would need to be. Well, actually, that was worked out pretty well. I'll just leave that alone for now. But like basically, you have access to request context and the Mastra instance, and you can set up a function like this. And then if you have like a certain thing in your request context, you can see like diagram agent. You can set up a certain director, a certain workspace, and then otherwise you can set up like a different one.
Oh, that's so cool. We should document this for sure. Because you could basically, like where it says base path workshop there, the constant, you could like concatenate a user ID on top of that, and then it would be sort of scoped per user.
Yeah,
that'd be a really good docs update.
Yeah, you could always scope that as well. So that makes it really good. So like depending on what you pass in the request context, you can get completely different workspaces and work in different ways for your agent.
Nice. Let's go back to the sort of demos, the core script, and we'll go back to some questions in a bit.
Okay, let's do it. So the next...
that was a good question.
Yeah, that was a good question. The next agent I want to go over is the script runner. Now this one only has, if I look at the code, This one only has the sandbox on it, so it can do command execution, but it doesn't have access to file system or skills.
Oh, okay.
But this one, but since I have execute command, I can do a lot of the same things a file system can do. So I can do like do ls-la. So I can still read all the files I want because I have this access to this execute command. And that allows us to do all kinds of stuff with other kinds of scripts too. So I can actually do like a curl Google account. Let's see what it does.
I like how nicely this integrates with Studio with like this is basically a tool call, right? But there's like a custom rendering for the shell commands, and you have that workspace tab now as well. I like how nicely it integrates.
Yeah, it can work pretty seamlessly within this, and probably test everything out, and you'll have this nice UI to do so.
Is there a way, like, how would you sort of like put human in the loop on that? Say I wanted to like approve shell commands.
We can actually set that up right now. Let me go ahead and show the code for that. Let me go ahead and do that. So let me find my work. No, sorry, this is the wrong. I don't know what happened to my. Okay.
Tucked away in the corner there.
Tucked away. So Sandbox Workspace. So I can add in tool. Oh wait, sorry, it's not the spot. I can add in tools right here. So if I want to do require approval, true. So if I do that, and let's see if I need to reset my server or not. Do an ls-la. Let's see what happens here. I might need to reset my server. Oh, I don't. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I can approve or deny. I can run any kind of command and be like, do I actually want to execute this? I can decline it or approve it, and then it'll do that. So you can definitely guard against if you want the agent to always request your permission for certain actions, then definitely can have it.
We don't have to demo it because it's, I think, clear and well documented, but you can also achieve more granularity. So what Nick just did is require approval for any tool on the workspace. But if you wanted to require approval only on specific things, like maybe when writing a file, when using Filesystem, you could do that more granularly as well.
Yeah, I'll actually show that off a little bit more. I have an agent just for that.
Oh, nice.
Let me just move this up a little bit. So I keep moving things over so I can let's get stuff ready. The next thing I want to show off is, oh yeah, this is a good one. I can do, let's do this. Get the node version. It's probably going to request approval again. I'm going to approve that this time. And I can do that. This is, yeah, so you have like all kinds of different ways you can like execute commands. You can like, and run scripts and whatever else you want to do. When you have access to this command line, you can do it.
Very cool. I was a bit cheeky earlier, Nick. I was like hacking a little bit in the sense that I was using the file system stuff. And what I really liked about that is that the access is routed to the working directory you pass to the file system, local file system. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if I can use the shell command to like bypass that. And so you can just do like ls and then .. / .. and kind of break out of it. And I kind of made me realize that like shell commands can be a little bit tricky because the surface area is so much more, right? I don't know if there's a way to prevent that specific thing or what your advice would be in general when it comes to sort of securing the shell access via the sandbox.
I think for stuff like that, definitely if you configure isolation, but also have approvals for this, where you can just stop it from doing. If you wanted to stop it from going to certain directories you don't want it to, definitely have the approval on there. But there's also, we have the native sandbox isolation that can prevent like network requests. So I can show that off real quick. For example, this isolated runner. This isolated runner is set up with, let me go to that one right now. Isolated runner is set up with network isolation. So if you don't want it to access any kind of network, you only want it to be scoped to your current sandbox, then you can do this. And then now that it has network isolation, I can say curl Google, and it will be restricted and it will fail that request.
Why does it say as mentioned there? Like, where's that coming? Where is it getting that idea
That
from?
may be from the network, from its instructions.
Oh, yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, but
Nice. Oh, I didn't actually know that. I knew you could set the isolation property, but I didn't realize you could dial it in further. I guess that's influencing the profile under the hood.
yeah, and when we do this kind of isolation, we get it generates a seatbelt profile, and this is something that you can like use. You can specify if you're making your own seatbelt profile, you can specify it for your own use, but it just basically sets up this profile for isolation and for your Mac OS Sandbox. It lets you just give certain rules and permissions when you do certain commands.
Very cool. What's because this seatbelt is a Mac OS thing. Like, what's it called on Windows and Linux? Do you remember?
The one on Linux is called Bubble Wrap.
Bubble wrap. Yeah, that's a good name.
Yeah. I think for the Windows one, we're still looking into providing support right now. We only currently support macOS and Bubble Wrap for isolation.
Stefan asks, how safe is the sandboxing isolation? I think it depends really a bit on what you're building, right? If this was, it doesn't seem like it has sort of true authorization or like true, it's not like an ephemeral sandbox or something where it's truly, truly safe, but there are still many scenarios where this is quite secure, such as like a local tool or like a single tenant server. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I think it for isolation, if you like, it definitely helps to if you want to block. Say you don't want your agent like accessing an API or making API calls without your permission. You could definitely it definitely helps to block that kind of access unless you specifically want that, and just kind of guard against various unwanted actions by the agent.
Okay. What do you want to look at next? We have about 10 minutes left for the demo.
Oh, okay.
We borrowed some time from the Q&A thanks to these great questions. Let us know if you have any more.
Yeah. So this one, I'll try to go quick now because I actually have a lot of things I wanted to show. But this one real quick is just, if you only want, say you don't really care about the file system and you don't really care about sandboxing, you can just set up a skills only workspace. You only care about skills, then you can do that as well. You don't need any kind of any other tools. Now I would recommend you get file system and sandbox because it just gives you more power, but we can easily do it like this. And you can say like, tell me more about Mastra. So when we activate a skill, it'll do a skill activate. It'll activate that skill. It'll tell me more about the Mastra framework. Give me different highlights. And I'll wait for this to be done. You can even like on the skills on the side here, you can click on the skill and you can see all the skills you have. So that looks pretty good. And I can actually show more of that too. Let me actually just go and switch gears a little bit to focus on skills. So we have let me go to my full workspace. So this full workspace has the file system, but also has a skills tab. And this skills tab lets you see all of these. Let me close, let me delete, actually, I'll leave that alone. You see all the skills we have here. The Mastra skill. We have a skill called Beautiful Mermaid that lets you render mermaid diagrams as SVG and PNG. And then we have a few other ones. These ones are special because they come from skills.sh. So what we can do is actually, we have this add skill button that gets added when you have a file system configured. And this lets you add any kind of skill from skills.sh. So you can see like PPTX. you want this skill, you can add it. So I can go, you can preview it, read through it, and then you can install. And then you have it in, and then I can you could also update various skills if there's an update that needs to happen. And
Daniel pointed out, and I think it would be cool as well. Like, imagine if we had a version column there, so you can, because that's the cool thing about skills is that they're versioned.
Yeah, we're definitely thinking about versioning, and that's going to be coming up on our roadmap. But yeah, currently you can update, and this will just basically update the skill as it is, and you can delete skills that you want. And these are stored on these are stored in we have a separate skills path that's just for this. So you can see all the skills you add from skills.sh here. And then you can have the reference files, you can see the scripts, and then you can see the different other document files for this. And actually,
so here, this is quite static in the sense that we are predetermining the skills for an agent. There are many good use cases for that. There's a few questions about dynamic skills. Is there a way for the agent to either discover skills or maybe even create its own skills and then update itself at runtime to inherit those new capabilities via the skill?
It can actually, yeah, I can show that off. So one thing we can do here is if I go to, let's go to a diagram agent. Can you write a skill for me that
this is brilliant
says hello world? Sure, let's just do that. So right now we can using the file system and its capabilities, it can understand the skill structure, it can make a directory. Let's wait for that.
This is such a good illustration of workspaces, right?
It's created the skill. Now there's a chance we'll need to refresh it. And we got it. And we can look at it. And we can read it right here. All the skills. So right now the agent created the skill. And it added to our skills tab. And now we can do this. Hello world. Let's see how we activate this. Okay, I need to activate. Hello.
Yeah, that's right. So not all skills aren't activated by default. The agent reasons about when it can benefit from the skill and then activates it. And I think the idea is that it reads it and puts it in the context window so it can follow those instructions going forward. Is that right?
Exactly.
Nice.
So yeah, now the skill's active. I probably should have picked a better skill for this. But Hello World is not a very good skill for this.
It's very illustrative. I think we all get the idea.
Yeah.
Wizen says it's very nice. Amin is showing some love as well. By the way, Daniel mentioned that Claude has a skill builder skill. It's kind of meta, but it's true. And I think, is it for Sal you have the find skill as well? So I guess you could give that to the agent and then it can more readily discover new skills and then download them and then apply them or activate them, I suppose.
Yeah. I believe we can download that right now too. Let me see here. Let's see if we can find that. Oh, find skills.
Well, it's Versal, yeah.
Yeah, so we can install it. And then we can see how that looks. So let's see. Can you explain the find skills skill? Sure. So it's activating the skill, and it's going to just tell me what it does.
Nice.
So you can use skill CLI, and then this gives you information about the skill and how to use it. And then also let you explore it. So yeah, you have this.
Bethel had a good question, and it's something I've been wondering too. What is, yeah, I think I'm getting somewhere close to an answer, but it's just true, isn't it? That there's so many different ways to achieve the same thing when building agents, it feels like. And Bethel is asking, what's the major difference between using a skill and a tool? When, Nick, do you recommend you use which?
The difference is skills right now are for Mastra, we use it. We have processors that handle this putting the skills into the context, and we decided that way was better just for Just so like when we activate a skill, it's pretty seamlessly in the context, and the agent has the information it needs to just work on any kind of it has the information it needs to get any kind of task done that's specified in the skill. Versus tools, depending on the tools you can have, it would just need extra tool calls. It would need to understand better the kind of context it needs to probably get a task done. With a skill, being in a processor and being like this, you can just have all this information available and then know what to call and what to do. So even in a skill, you can have like, oh, call this tool. Here are the tools available on your workspace, and here's how to use them. And yeah, I think that makes it pretty powerful.
Thank you so much. Yeah. What would you like to show next, Nick?
I think the next thing I want to show, how much time do we have? Okay.
I think it was Florian who said, you can go longer. I have time. That's really charming. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, the next thing I was going to show, I'll probably show the secure editor. So let me do that right now. And this is basically what we were talking about before, where you can really make it granular, the kind of permissions you set. So we have a read before write on this write file, which I'll show off, and as well as like some deletes and exit commands. So let me go show that secure editor right now.
And let us know, folks. We have a few minutes at the end for questions and things like that. So feel free to write them in the chat now. I'll keep a close eye, and then we can answer them together towards the end here.
Files in the workspace. So I'll have it like do this first. Let me see what we got in here. Let's see what I added. I have the LOTXT, so let's try doing that. Write to hello.txt 10 random numbers, and we'll see what it does. So this has require approval. So if you notice, I was able to list all the files in the workspace without having any approval, but now it's going to try to write to this. So it's asking for approval to write to that file, but it's going to fail because it has not been read. And that's what that require read before write does.
This type of granular permission is really important, I think. It means you only interrupt the user when you need to.
See, it's having some issues, but now it uses the edit. I was using edit file to get that done, but now it shows up on the workspace, I believe. So let me go check the security of the workspace, go to hello.txt, and we have 10 random numbers.
Nice. Joe Roddy wrote that they assume workspace agents can still use all the traditional Mastra features like Mastra tools in addition to the skills and Sandbox APIs.
Yeah, everything here is basically, yeah, you can still use all the tools, all the workflows, everything else that you had before, but this is like in addition to that, and you can use it together. So there's definitely a good synergy going on between these new skills and tools and what we had before.
Definitely. Did we want to take a quick look at the, well, Nick, tell us, I mean, you've been here since the beginning of this project. We spoke a little bit about its inception, what workspaces are, why they matter. What I would love to learn, and maybe you can give us a preview, I don't know, is where workspaces are going next. Because, well, this is a great start. I know there's a bigger ambition here as well.
Yeah, of course. I can show off what we've been working on. So someone was asking about external providers and remote providers, and I think they'll be happy with this, but let me get that set up. And this is a work in progress. Just want to make that clear, but let's go ahead and show this off.
So everything we've showed you so far is released and available to use. This is something that's in the works and will be in your or your coding agent's hands soon enough.
Exactly. So now I have something right here. So this is a slightly different workspace, and this uses this is called a cloud workspace, and basically, let me where's my page? Yeah, weird refresh bug. But this one actually is synced up. We have both a local file system as well as a Cloudflare R2 bucket, which has some information there too. And I can show off the Cloudflare R2, and I'm using an E2B Sandbox as well. So I can use all this in conjunction to do this. Let me go to this agent, or the developer agent, list the files you have.
Joe Roddy's right. This is your one more thing moment, Nick.
Just one more thing. All right, perfect. We got this, and we can see this, but that's not all. We can also do this. Can we write what's a good thing to say for this? Right. You want to give me an example of something? What do you want to see in the Cloudflare R2 bucket?
A poem about.
Right.
I noticed you have a pretty handsome dog. Maybe what kind of breed is it?
That's a good question. I don't know either.
Write a poem about a big dog.
Big dog. A big dog, and put it in the bucket. I put out it in the bucket. Whoops, that's a mistype. Let's see what it does. Okay, it's writing file. Let's see what it wrote. It's in bucket. Okay, whoa. Big dog, a giant paws across the floor, thunder steps and gentle roar. As hard as vast as mighty frame, big dog is more than just a name. Nice.
Damn, yeah.
Okay, but now we can see this in two places. So I'll show off here. Let's see if it added properly, and it's right here. You can read it, and you can see it. Let's see what the rest of the page probably. Let's see if we can see it here too. Yep. Cool.
Nice. That's sick. That's real. And people are actually applauding in the stream. I love that. Me too. I'm literally applauding as well. Well, like not literally, but the other thing I noticed is that in studio, it's not like it blends. Like you've had some local and some remotes, right? In S3 in this case, or in R2. Is that it seems like it creates a kind of abstraction over the different sort of destinations for the files. So your agent doesn't really have to worry about the details. It just knows what it has available to then process and do something with.
Yeah, so basically in this new implementation, we have something called a composite file system. And this will take multiple different, it'll take from multiple different locations. So like we have a local setup. Like right here in our file system browser, you can see that we have like a bucket R2 that shows all this stuff. And like this big poem, big dog poem, as well as our local file system. But to the agent, it doesn't really matter. They don't need to really know the differentiation. They know the different folders that they're going to be in. And then basically once you list files, you're going to see everything at once.
Yeah.
And then you can also write to specific folders. But it does know what the mounted file system, but it can just treats everything as like one concept when it like does file system actions.
Can we see the code for this? I'm kind of curious what it looks like and how it's different from when we gave Mastra Workspaces a local file system and local sandbox.
Yeah, let me pull that up right now. Let me just go grab that. Bring that up. Are you still seeing the right screen? Let me double check.
I can, but it zoomed out a bit since, so maybe pump that in a bit.
Cool. So basically, the main difference is we have something called a mounts object now. And basically, with this mounts system, you can specify folders. So like local for this and bucket for this. And then, so I can set up different file systems based on what I have. And you can set up as many as you want. You can do like bucket 3, and then do another S3 file system here. Bucket 4, you can do like a GCS, which which I think I've set up right now. Let's see if I have an import for that. I might need to add an import later. But you can add as many file systems as you want, and it comes up here later. And it'll all just show up in the agent as well as your workspace.
Okay, this is really cool because they all basically implement an interface, right, for the file system or for the sandbox. And there's really no limit then to how many we could support or the community could contribute. I'm seeing S3 here, but you mentioned GCS. We could also support like Composite FS, Agent FS, all that good stuff. Same with sandboxes, right? We're looking at E2B, but Daytona's another great candidate. It would just be a case of having a package that implements that interface. And that's pretty exciting because I think these are really exciting platforms. And then you get to benefit from their infrastructure and some of the things they do particularly well, while obviously designing and developing your agent with Mastra in Studio.
Right, exactly. A lot of cool things in the horizon.
Nice. Okay, yeah, we'll hold on for like a few more minutes in case there are any questions. Mostly just enthusiasm and excitement, which is amazing to see. Yeah, this is cool, Nick. Thank you for taking the time to demo this and show us. This unlocks a lot for agents. Like we said at the beginning, it gives your agents capabilities. We all want to get the most out of these models, the most out of our agents. But there is that balance, right, between power and responsibility. And workspaces, sandboxes, these are how we find that balance, right? And I think you demonstrated that really clearly today.
Yeah, thanks. Happy to show everything off.
Just one little shout out for me, first of all. We've started scheduling. I mean, let's wrap it up here. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. It's been such a pleasure to hang out with you and share the excitement around these new features with you. We have more updates to workspaces coming up. I think Zach mentioned the beers are on them if we release it. And then Abby responded, we'll see you next week because this stuff is imminent. So you can start getting excited about it. We also have some other really exciting things cooking up as well. We just launched Mastra Skills this week so that your agents can produce better Mastra code. You should check those out if you haven't already. And while we haven't like fully announced it, we did release today observational memory, which I can't wait to show you more about in next week's workshop. That's what I wanted to show you, actually, that we're getting into a bit of a schedule here where we plan the workshops a few weeks in advance. And so join us next week. I'll be joined by Tyler to talk about how to build agents with human-like memory. Honestly, observational memory kind of changes the game. I thought originally this workshop might talk about all the different memory types Mastra has, from like working memory to semantic memory, but we might tweak this slightly to just focus on observational memory because it's powerful enough that it can do some of the same things those other types of memory systems can, and arguably in a more efficient and accurate way, so that you can build better agents that sort of mimic the way the human brain works to record the right information at the right time, produce more coherent responses and all that kind of stuff. So let me drop a link to that in the chat real quick. You can check it out and check out your email after this stream. As soon as we wrap up here, I'm going to shoot you all an email with a link to the code so you can check out Nick's code and some detailed instructions in the README, as well as the recording to this if you would like to watch anything back. So Nick, once again, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure. And thank you everyone for tuning in as well. It's been great to see you. And I hope to see you next week as we host these workshops every Thursday.
Yeah, see you guys. Thanks for having me.
See you later.
See you.